never seen the limits in a way we ever breathe.
Time cross the entrance, then we will go claim the crown.
We'll tear it down. There's nothing they can ever do to take down our crown. And we will pop them down and make the drum sound. There's something inside more that's just sneaking around. Now watch the ice steel. We're fighting it down. Run and charge and calculate the power we bring. Running like a panther, hear the battle sing. We're blazing through the ranks on the move and swing. With might in our hearts to take everything. Everything pillars rise as we claim our throne. For victory, we've already grown. On the field we fight, we overthrow the known. Nothing stop us, ain't no way we stand alone.
Time cross the entrance, then we will go claim the crown.
We'll tear it down. There's nothing they can ever do to take down our crown. And we will pop them down and make the drum sound. There's something inside more that's just sneaking around. Now watch the ice steel. We're fighting death.
From the desert outside to the desert outpost, we crave more. With every sweet stride, we will ride. We're opening the door. So here's to the grind.
We'll tear it down. There's nothing they can ever do to take down our crown. And we will pop them down and make the drum sound. There's something inside more that's just sneaking around. Now watch the ice steel. We're fighting death. Yeah, we're fighting death. We're fighting death. We're fighting death.
Hello, 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 governors. Welcome to the 2025 Grand Prix Qualifiers International Server Group A Round 2. I'm your host, Plato Gaming, caster and content creator for Rise of Kingdoms. And today, casting alongside me, we have Mr. Redline. How you doing today, sir?
Plato, good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Everybody in chat, hello. Glad to do another round with you, Plato. Good morning. How are you doing as well, buddy?
Yeah, I'm doing great. We are casting the second round of the Grand Prix Qualifier group stage. There are 32 teams overall, 16 teams from the Chinese server and 16 teams from the international server. Each of these teams were grouped with 3 other teams from their server through a random draw. With 4 groups of 4, each team will play the other teams in their group once, and whomever ends up winning with the best record in the group after the round robin will move on to the Grand Prix tournament. Meaning that every game from here on is vital, as only one team from each group can move on. The game we are casting today have 2 teams that have been consistently on near the top of Osiris League. We have 16 OT from 1316 versus JST from Kingdom 1365. 16 OT have proven within the last couple of Osiris leagues that they are one of the best teams in the international server. They've automatically qualified for this group stage by being in the top 4 of the Realm of Best Set last season, losing to the eventual champions 489. In the semifinals, with their win against EE last week, they are looking to keep their top spot in the group by reaching that 2-0 record. But to do so, they will need to go through JST. JST have time and time again shown that their prowess in the Osiris League. They have always been one of the top Osiris League teams, and proven again last season, being the runners-up in the Realm of Anubis, losing the 93T in Osiris League finals. But they cemented their ticket to the Grand Prix qualifiers. JST suffered a major setback last week with their loss to 2377, but their main stage hopes are not done yet. With a win today, they would be 1-1 in the group, allowing for a potential tiebreaker in the final week to determine if they make it through to the main stage. One team aiming to stay on the top, another team clawing their way back from the bottom. Will 16 OT continue their first week success and be one of the top favorites to make it out of the group, or will JST turn around their Grand Prix and survive another week? Redline, what do you think of this matchup?
Oh man, this is like you just said, right? One has momentum, the other one needs to survive. I mean, right now it's JST's game to lose because correct me if I'm wrong, if they do lose this, they're pretty much out. Like there's no chance of them getting
Yep.
into the top two. So this is JST's time to shine. I hope that they've done a lot of homework from the last match against 77, capitalize on that, and then take out 16 OT in this matchup to make this bracket more interesting. So I'm rooting for JST. I'm rooting for the underdog, but 60 OT definitely have the momentum. They're a solid team, and I wouldn't be surprised if they take this victory.
Yeah, I mean, 16 OT last week was very dominant against EE. Their opponent, I think they won by about 20k points. So an absolutely, dominant performance from them.
Yeah.
JST, they definitely have their work cut out for them, man. They need to make sure that they win this game because 16 OT, if they win this, then there's no way JST could tie them for top of the group. Again, only one team from each group makes it out. So 16 OT being at 2-0, 2 wins, 0 losses, JST being at 0-2, and there only being 3 games, JST would be down for the count. But I mean, it's going to be it is a do or die game for JST. 16 OT, it is also a do or die game for them because they need to make sure that they stay on top of this group. The last game of this group that they're going to be versing is going to be against 2377. We saw last week how strong 2377 is. So we will have to see how 16 OT rise to the occasion, or will JST rise to the occasion, because both teams need this W. I mean, this Grand Prix has been really, really interesting to watch. I think that we'll have to see if there's going to be any early game shenanigans. We saw last week JST, they just got out open fielded, I feel like, against 2377. When we were casting them, that was the match Redline and I casted last week. JST just got out open fielded. Maybe it's something to do with their pairs, maybe something to do with their micro, maybe something to do with where they sent their marches, but they had a full week to prepare, and let's see how they have done so as we get into the game here. We have 16 OT in the top left. Oh, we have JST in the top left corner, rather. And we have 16 OT in the bottom right corner. Is there anything to look out for as we get into the game here, Redline?
But also, like you mentioned earlier, we were privileged enough to cast the 77 game against JST. So it's gonna be really cool to compare how JST maneuvers against 16 OT. But also, I love to see it. Like, I'm thinking this long term, Plato. We're seeing 16 OT. They're the favorites. I'm being honest here. They're the favorites here in this matchup. And then if it comes down against 77, I love to see the 2 gameplays from both teams. So really, both sides here is definitely be really interesting to watch. But for JST, like you said, they had a full week to kind of capitalize from the loss against 77 to still stay in this game. So I'm really interested to see what they do here, because you mentioned a really good point. When we're looking at the 77 match against JST, they were out-killed, unless the right word to say, but they were definitely had a lot more severely wounded versus what 77 gave them. They were outmaneuvered on the field. They were always on the defensive, meaning anytime they tried to, win the occupation game, 77 was ahead of them, and they just flipped the script on them. So they have to do something here to capitalize and just do a better performance than they did against 77 to stay in this matchup.
It is going to be a tall task, but we've seen the consistency of JST. JST being a household name, a staple in Osiris League in the Grand Prix, and we'll have to see if they could continue to see that success. Because, man, it would be really interesting. This is kind of the group of death. We have 16 OT, very, very strong. 2377 showing that, hey, we are also an Osiris League team too. And JST, who have always been within the top 4, top 2, losing against 93T in that grand final of Osiris League last season.
Hey, one thing I noticed too, Plato, so as we're hovering around the cities before their matchup starts, everybody has the availability to all the different, skins of the game, right? So right now you're looking at people who have, the 15% skins, 12% skins. I feel like it's really interesting to see like what I guess statistics that people are utilizing. Well, by the way, if you look up a little bit, you see Poppy Sad has like that 3% training skin. I don't know if that was on purpose or not, but you know, like those like little details matter. So I'm hoping that all teams are taking advantage of all these perks that they have to, I guess, level set the playing field. So it looks like a lot of people are using defensive skins. Some people are using 12% attack skins. So I want to really interested to see like the reasoning why. I could assume that those are like specifically using cav skins, like a 50% health skin, or using it specifically for rallies. So like just really interested to see. But it looks like the template of the game is using defensive skin for these matchups.
As the match is now underway here, we have to see where they place their sentries. Both teams using energetic at the beginning here, so no early game shenanigans probably. Sometimes some teams like to save those 2 points for a sneaky tactics or some backdoor play. But at least the energetic kind of alluding to a rather normal early game here. Outposts now being captured. Redline, like what do you like to see from these openings? Like, what's your favorite opening that you've seen in Osiris League in the Grand Prix with all the games that you've been casting thus far?
So my favorite things. I mean, okay, this just to be clear here, you know how this opening happened. It's all purely like, hey, trying to understand what the other team is doing, right? It's like it's defensive strat that everyone like. I feel like it's a safe bet. Say, hey, let's see what everybody else is doing, then we can kind of adapt and counter to what, like, if anybody, as you said, has any early shenanigans that are happening, you know, in the matchup. But me personally, I love to see like those aggressive strats out the gate, like things that you don't see of where they'll have, you know, a group of individuals, you know, utilizing the fog to like take certain structures and kind of outmaneuvering what the person's thinking of. I love to see those where they're just straight up going the aggressive, going for the obelisk move. Again, very slim chance those usually succeed, but they have happened where they kind of blow your mind and those specific strategies. I love to see those kind of things. How about yourself, Plato? Anything that you favor in terms of strategy?
We've seen that obelisk strategy work against 60 GT last Osiris League. So
yeah,
we
I remember that.
have seen some stuff like that happen. I like the outer lane play early. I like it when teams, you know, they defend their desert altar, but then they also attack the opponent's sky altar. They attack the opponent's shrine of life, because it then poses a question to your opponents like, do we try to recapture the structure, or do we try to rotate middle? Because if you're able to be successful and you threaten that first occupation, I think Osiris League and Grand Prix and Arc of Osiris in general, the way you win is by making your opponent have to make these tough choices, and eventually your opponent choosing the wrong choice. So I feel like, you know, it's a give and take, and the more you take, the more your opponent, you know, has to make that decision upon where they place their marches. So let's see. I think the opening here looks pretty standard. We've been looking at the two different visions here. JST opting for the triple sentries, going to all three lanes, all three entry points. We saw 16OT go for the one sentry in the beginning, where in JST spawn, as well as one sentry in the center here. Everything looking pretty standard right now. We see some human sentries here with a double CT1 just running through, making sure they see all of the marches, perhaps trying to sad face. And it looks like it'll be the standard desert altar standoff from both sides.
Yeah, it looks very similar for both sides. So again, I love using this term. It's like, I think it's like a trend now. The early shenanigan thing is not going to be there. And you made a really good point that teams strive to make the other team make the bad decisions. And I can add to that. I feel like if whoever team applies the most pressure to make someone to kind of adapt to what you're doing, meaning they're always having to react to what you're doing. Basically like, oh, they're pushing us here, we have to defend it here. Oh, they're going mid, now we have to go middle. Like, I feel like the team who's initiating that is most likely going to win the game, because you're dictating the momentum of the game. You're dictating everything that's happening. So in the next few minutes, I feel like we're going to see who is going to be taking that initiative.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting. We see an Attila hitting the obelisk. You're talking about early obelisk play. There is a swarmer, there also is a garrison, so there isn't going to be any obelisk capture. But it's pretty interesting that they decided to not cancel. Both sides decided to not cancel, opting to, I guess, pressure that obelisk and do that, as the top side Desert Altar skirmish has begun here, Redline. This is kind of giving shades of last match of JST. If we remember last match, 2377 were handily able to take the Desert Altar, kind of wiping the JST ball. Looks like JST this time are the ones doing the wiping. A lot of 16 OT sad faces here. So this time, at least, it looks like JST will be able to get that first occupation, that first tap at least, of the Desert Altar.
Oh, that's a really good point, because you're right. When they faced a 77, I feel like they took first occupation of this specific Desert Altar for JST for a good amount of time. So I'm really glad to see that they're holding it down here and not allowing that to happen similar to the last match.
Yeah, and to the counterpoint, it actually looks like JST now starting to attack the Sky Altar, the outer lane. It does look like there are a lot of 16 OT to respond. But this is a lot better of an opening from JST, where JST last match that we saw them against 2377 were playing defensive the whole game. Right now, it looks like they have the upswing in tempo with 6 minutes to go until Arc spawns.
And it looks like JST was able to take 16 OT Sky Altar or Desert Altar on the bottom. Am I reading that right?
No, 16 OT was able to hold it, but it was a close attack from JST. JST actually they lost their Shrine of War, but they will be able to take it back. So all of the structure is kind of even right now, but we could see that a lot of the marches from the Desert Altar, that original Desert Altar defense, now swinging over to the Sky Altar in the outer lane here for an attack. There should be a rally coming through as well from JST, and we could see that there is a rally preparing. There's 2 rallies preparing on both of the altars of 16 OT. 16 OT also have 2 rallies prepared. Again, the rallies, it only takes 1 minute to prepare compared to the 5 minutes or the 4 minutes in KVK. So these rallies should be coming out momentarily here. 16 OT, they got to start sending more marches up here, or else this Sky Altar rather might be in trouble here, Redline.
Oh my god, I'm actually really excited to see a JST just putting the pressure right now. Like we said earlier, right? Whoever's going to apply the pressure is going to dictate the game. So hopefully 16 OT kind of sees that and they kind of like put that to the hold and not lose this, because then what happens next? Are we going to continue going for it, or we go towards middle?
Oh, there you go. JST actually got sad faced out. Looks like they're still rotating some marches in here. 5 minutes to go until Arc. So it looks like JST is going to be opting in for a late rotation here, or at least one more attack. 5 minutes, you still do have enough time to go middle after this rally hits. But if 16 OT wanted to rotate middle first, they would have had first rotation. Looks like 16 OT, though, going for a counter engage on this Shrine of Life. The rally walking past the murder ball. Will they have enough 16 OT to defend this Sky Altar? They do have, JST have some marches just beelining for that Sky Altar, just going straight for the swarm, ignoring the open field marches. We have an Attila with Subutai rally going through, and 16 OT just instant swarming it down, making sure that this structure cannot go down.
What do you think, Paul? You think JST is going to take this? Because they timed this where, like, it's like right in the middle of the refresh and right before the mid rotation. So like 16 OT has multiple red marches here. They may be able to swarm this rally down, but there's JST people trickling in. So I'm really curious to see if they're able to take this. It is 16 OT.
It is looking pretty close. I do think 16 OT should be able to, as long as they march swap. They have a couple of... actually, their marches are getting pretty low here. Oh my goodness, Redline. Is this going to be a take? First occupation points were at least taken by 16 OT. So the 750 points for first occupation are not up for grabs. But it is still going to be that 150 points per minute that might be up for grabs if this is taken. We could see the double C's just sprinting in for 16 OT. And we saw this from 2377. The double C's, when it comes to going to a structure fast, making sure that you fill that structure as much as possible, as fast as possible, have been clutch for these defenses here. JST, though, they still have some healthy marches. We could see that they have so many marches that they're circling around. It's getting pretty low, Redline.
I don't know if they're gonna hold it. We have one person from 16OT, kind of swarming the marches, but
Oh my
I'm
gosh.
hoping that they're swapping him in and out. They're swapping his marches inside and out to hold this, but I don't think they'll be able to hold it.
Yeah, JST were able to take it, and that is going to be a huge play.
There it is.
That is going to be a big play because as I was talking about, I kind of like this outer lane structure, like taking that outer lane structure while that first arc is being spawned in, because now there's going to be 16 OT. They kind of have to decide, do we go for this outer lane play? Do we try to take it back, or do we try to, just go for that middle rotate, go for the numbers, and go for that arc? It looks like, though, JST don't have a garrison lead because, as you remember, 16 OT swarmed down the rally. Usually teams, they hide the garrison within the rally because the rally was swarmed down. There's no garrison coming through. They have a BQ garrisoning, but they do have people filling it in, and this will be a retake from 16 OT. Now the question is, it looks like JST, at least for this first arc, on this top side, very, very, very focused on trying to take these structures, Redline.
It looks like none of them are rotating in, but it also looks like 16 OT is also that right side of the map is not going as well. So they're playing off each other, and I really think the mid fight is just gonna be whoever's on the left side, for both sides to kind of go for this arc, because everyone knows this is a 3K arc. So if it can be a significant difference between the two scores, but if someone were to hold the occupation on either side, that kind of offsets. I'm really interested to see how this plays out the next 2 minutes.
Yeah, it looks like the top side is just, we're going to play 1v1 against the enemy team. We're just going to be staying on this top side, defend the structures, hold the structures, and the bottom side and everyone in spawn are just sprinting towards the middle. So it's not a full commit from both teams. I think both teams kind of reading each other very, very well, Redline. Oh, looks like Desert Storm used. Desert Storm in response by JST. This is very interesting. This isn't in response to any sneaky tactics. This is for chip damage. Trying to do as much damage to the open field marches as possible. And you can see that the marches did take some damage here. So just trying to make sure that... Yeah, it's really interesting. But mirrored Desert Storms from both teams. 30 seconds until arc spawns. Both teams still waiting for reinforcements coming through. And they're just saying, all right, we believe in our arc carriers right here. We believe in the 50-50. 20 seconds to go. I expect this to explode any minute now.
It looks like 16OT have more people in the middle, I think. But again, it's really hard to tell with the ball so tight on the JST side.
This is going to go up to an arc. This is going to be up to the arc carriers who taps it first. Looks like there was actually a to the death used by 16OT. No mark used by JST. They're not committing to this mid-fight win. They're gonna commit to the arc carrier. Will they be able to get it? They were able to get the first pull. Witcher able to get the first pull. But they are losing this mid-fight. Will Witcher be able to bring it to their side of the map? Look at the sad faces coming out from JST because they used no mark instead of to the death. This is an all-in play from 16OT. JST saying we are going to be going for the structures and the points per minute instead. But my goodness, this is domination from 16OT, and the arc is still on the ground. There are so many JST sad face, and then Redline looks like 16OT's gamble on using to the death for this first arc will pay off. They have full control of this arc and they have full control of mid.
My God, and I'm looking at the map here too. Like with this happening, like the structures have to be flipped on the side of GST, and I don't see that really happening, Plato.
They were able to take the Crown of Life. That's one. They looks like they're trying to take the Sky Altar. This rally is getting very, very low. 60k in the rally. The rally is down.
And hold it, Plato. Oh my God.
Wow, that was a very interesting decision from JST, saying, okay, we're going to go for the buildings. We're going to go for the points per minute. You can see they're up 676 points per minute compared to 360 points per minute. But 16OT, now the question is, they traded JST. They traded Arc for this no mark. Now, perhaps they don't have to the death on the bar. Maybe that's one of the reasons. We saw last week they used to the death twice and lost the mid fights. Maybe they're like, okay, The 2 to death skill last week didn't work out. We're not going to put it on this week, and maybe that's why they used no mark. Maybe that's why they kind of sacked middle due to the skill uses that they used, not using to the death. Meanwhile, 16OT did use to the death. But I mean, we'll have to see how many points per minute they could gain, the lead that they could gain, and if that's going to be more or less 3K.
That's the key thing. It's right now they were able to take 16OT's, Sky Altar, and that if they can hold it for at least 3 to 4 minutes, that could offset the arc.
Yeah.
But they had if the decision to make for that was super interesting. I thought they were gonna pop 2 to death Plato to match that.
Yeah.
But that clearly wasn't the situation. So they have to hold and really capitalize on the occupation game in order to say, hey, that was worth it. Because again, thankfully this arc is only 3K points, and there's definitely a thing that they can flip, but really just see how that's gonna occur.
I'm surprised that they even went mid at all if their plan was to go no mark. It looks like it did end up working towards their favor regardless, because they do have the Sky Altar. They yet again, they do not have a garrison for this. So it is a QSH, as broken as that commander is in the open field. I don't know if it's a good garrison, Redline.
I literally was gonna say, hey man, it's QSH. He might be OP as well. So hey, but you're right. Hopefully they're gonna get an Eleanor in there. But I think that top March could be the Eleanor that we're thinking of.
Yeah.
So hopefully they get that person in there, because they have to hold this and take the Desert Altar to truly say, hey, that first arc didn't matter. We made the right decision, and keep holding these buildings so we can continue to extend the lead.
16OT were able to take back the Sky Altar, so that's going to be a big victory for them. Able to, kind of stop the bleeding here. JST still have their Shrine of Life, and you can see the power of no mark. Desert Altar, the altars usually being the structure that give the most points, 150 points per minute. No mark, Shrine of Life at 104 points per minute, when usually it gives 80, so that's going to be an extra 24 points per minute. You could see Sky Altar giving an extra 45 points per minute. That's why no mark for these structures, even the Obelisk, which only gives 20, is giving an extra 6 points per minute. So no mark just giving extra points per minute even when you're holding your home structures. It also allows you to hold your home structures better. It also allows you to attack enemy structures, giving more damage to attacking enemy structures. On top of that, it makes it so that you capture enemy structures faster. Instead of it being the 2 minutes to flip, it makes it 1 minute. So no mark, honestly, you could see it as the to the death of buildings. But all things considered, it is still only a 2.5k lead for JST, which will be offset by the arc that 16OT are holding close to the cities.
Yeah, and now I know that the strategy for this opening arc was to focus on structure for the JST side, but dude, 16OT looked dominant in the middle, right? Like whoever was there, that it just completely wiped. So I'm wondering, what's the next play after this? Because I think that 16OT may have the advantage in the mid fight. What is JST gonna do? I really think, because right now, when they score this arc, 16OT will have the lead slightly. So what is JST gonna do to continue to extend that? Are they gonna have more arcs, Plato? Are they gonna just focus on occupation? I don't know.
That is a good question, because they won't have no mark for the next arc, I believe. I believe
Exactly.
the timer for no mark is going to be too long to where JST will not be able to pop it yet again for another arc. So the same play probably will not happen again. They might be able to pop the new I think it's called Time Warp, where it resets the cooldown of your skills. Perhaps they could do that. Yeah, Time Warp.
That's so much to commit though to points.
Yeah.
But and again, based on this first usage of it, let's say they get 2k more points, from that. It won't be enough to cover the remaining totals of the other arcs. So I'm really for me it's going to come down to occupation and for them to kind of continue to extend that points per minute versus 16OT and put that pressure.
They have been putting a lot of pressure on the Sky Altar. 16OT, to the credit though, it's flipped a couple times. It started generating points for JST for a bit, but for the most part, they've been able to hold this Sky Altar pretty well here. And this is gonna be, it might be the classic. It might be the classic occupation versus mid fight. But Redline, for the next arc, we're talking about Arc of Osiris. 16OT did capture it, so they actually know that, hey, JST looks to be going pretty heavy on the building game. Let's make them make the decision. There's gonna be an arc spawning in 8 minutes. What will you do for that second arc? Redline, if you're JST, what is your plan for the second arc that's gonna be spawning in about 8 minutes here?
Oh, dude, you're going all in on the second arc. You have to contest that. Like right now, it's pretty even across the board. I think if we look at the occupation scoring for the entire event, right now JST is in the lead of that. But that was mostly attributed to that skill usage they had just for the first arc. So they have to go all in on the second one.
They captured the Desert Altar, by the way. They have 4 altars right now. JST going the building game. Actually very successful. We did not see this Desert Altar be taken, but this Desert Altar, they have a Gorgo in there, they have a Garrison in there. It looks like this Desert Altar will be pretty healthy.
Oh man, see? They just put a sock in my mouth. They're like, wait a minute. We got them all. So hopefully they can hold this. I mean, every minute counts, right? Every minute you get additional points. Every minute they don't get those points. So like 300 points per minute is going to be huge.
Yeah. And even them just flipping the altar, you could see that the points per minute is 740 points per minute to 290 points per minute. Absolutely huge from JST. And what was a lead for 16OT, a 200-point lead, has now escalated to a 500-point lead for JST and growing. This Desert Altar, by the way, the rally was just swarmed down, so it's going to be another minute until there's a rally coming through. It looks like there are a lot of open field marches for 16OT, though. So they should be able to capture this if there's no reinforcements from JST coming in. But this is already a victory from JST, showing to themselves and showing to 16OT that, hey, we can take your structures, we can take your altars, this is going to be a threat. And this is exactly what you need to be doing if you're going occupation game. You need to make sure that you have control of your opponent's desert altars so that you can continue growing that point lead. JST, they got the double C's sprinting into the desert altar. It looks like they don't have open field marches coming through to support it. So the desert altar should fall here, although they do have a couple double C's just waiting outside. Just, trying to get in there.
I'm just really impressed how long JST is holding these structures for.
Yeah.
The deficit is almost 1,000 points now with the per minute score is 660 to 290. JST is doing a really good job at really kind of like from having that first arc really be an impact. Like the game is still close, but it could have been much worse, if they were able to to hold these 3 structures at the moment.
Yes, JST. I mean, they're creating a point cushion here if you think about it, because we're talking about, okay, for the arc, if the structures are gonna be even between 16OT and JST, you kind of have to go for this mid play. You kind of have to contest this second arc because you're not generating enough points from the occupation game, which you've been so heavily committed to. But now that they had that 4 altar swing, they have about a 1.3k point lead right now. The next arc will be 3.5k, but if they're able to pull off the same play, flip a couple altars, use time warp with a no mark for this next this mid fight, they could potentially try to fight 16OT for the structures here and gain the lead that way. But it looks like from the positioning of JST will be full committing to this mid fight. A lot of people coming in from spawn, a lot of people coming in from the bottom lane. Top lane, not so much. They're still going for the Sky Altar. They're still trying to defend their Desert Altar and Shrine of Life. But at least from their first rotations here, with 4 minutes to go until arc spawns, JST are the first ones here.
Yeah, and I think with JST, if they have the numbers, I would straight up engage immediately to secure this arc, because I truly feel like they need this arc. they need this arc. They put a pretty decent gap of about 1.3k, and I looked at the map earlier, and it looks like they're both on even on provision, so it's gonna come down to the arcs. And right now with the amount of numbers that 16OT have in the middle, I mean, Watcher knows he can communicate this to his team now. If they have enough numbers in the middle, I would straight up engage.
It looks like 16OT, they have full vision. They have full vision. They have a sentry. Seeing that, they see that JST are rotating here. And even the top side of the map here, look at that, Redline. The top side of the map also rotating in for this mid fight. So it is going to be a full commit from JST. What is the response from 16OT? 16OT, and this is what I'm talking about, the outer lane play. JST took the Sky Altar. Now 16OT, they feel obligated to send a bunch of marches to retake the structure. And I will say that I like, regardless, I think attacking an outer lane structure, specifically the Sky Altar before an arc spawns, is always going to be a good play, because it's win-win. If you win that structure, you're taking away points per minute from your opponent. You're giving points per minute to yourself. Even if you don't win, these are marches that now have to take the walk of shame back home. They're going to be red marches that have to walk back home, refresh, and then rotate middle. So it's going to take so long for these marches to be relevant for middle, or not even be relevant at all, as there's only 2 minutes until the arc spawns.
And right now, with JST sad faces on outer lane going home, right, majority of the 16OT players that were fighting there are either low marches or red marches. So they're going to be super late to the rotation. The JST players will have a slight advantage of being there in time. But right now, those are like 8-10 marches that 16OT have that are not in the middle.
Yeah, this is going to be interesting. Now, we were talking about time warp for JST for no mark. There is also time warp for 16OT for to the death, if they really want to replay the to the death skill, because it was very successful for them last arc, but they did have the numbers, they had the skill advantage. I don't think JST, with the amount of numbers that they committed here, will give up and use no mark yet again. We have 1 minute 15 seconds. What skills do you predict from both sides here, Redline?
Oh my god, I'm thinking like I want to see some shenanigans, Plano. I want to see some shenanigans.
Start it off.
We've seen
Desert Storm shenanigans. Okay, Desert Storm used by 16OT, so that's 3 points used. JST just tanking it. Honestly, not... Desert Storm is really interesting because it does do chip damage. Now, I'm curious if it's worth the 3 points. I'd assume yes, because both sides have been using it, and these are some of the top teams in Osiris League.
I mean, right now, for CNOT is a huge advantage because they obviously reduced the true capacity of multiple marches in the middle, which gives an advantage in the mid. So, I'm just make sure I'm not tripping, but JST didn't use any skills at the moment just now, right?
They just used Desert Storm. So they're using Desert Storm during the fight. JST using To The Death this time. And it is Heaven's Grace by 16OT in response. So this is a 9 points middle compared to the 7 points from 16OT. So just with that, JST should be favored here. But it is looking pretty close. The arc has spawned. Who will be able to get first pull is Witcher for the first arc. Will it be a 16OT player this time? It is Haro. Haro taking that first pull, bring it towards the 16OT side. But 16OT's murder ball is sad facing out. Wow, this is an absolute dominant mid fight from JST, proving all the doubters wrong. That, hey, we can go middle despite what happened against 2377 and that first arc. This is an absolutely dominant mid fight from JST, Redline.
JST is taking that arc home. Wow, that was an amazing fight from JST in performance. And I wonder how many marches more JST had in the middle versus 16OT because of the plays that JST did on the outer lanes.
That is true. That is true. It felt like they had more numbers. It felt like the numbers were there first. And they also used 9 points, Desert Storm being 3, To The Death being 6, compared to the 7 points, Desert Storm being 3, and Heaven's Grace being 4 of 16OT. So I do think that it was the numbers, it was the fact that they had positioning advantage to a certain extent. It was pretty even. but they had the numbers. They were there first, and on top of that, the fact that they saved to the death from that first arc, they didn't copy the to the death, which they could have against 16OT in that first arc. They saved it, used the no mark instead to get a point advantage, and then from there they used the to the death for that second arc redline.
Yeah, no, I see. That skill usage was, that was perfect in my opinion in terms of how to utilize it to own that second mid, because this second arc now is 3,500 points. Correct me if I'm wrong, Plato.
Yeah.
So that's gonna be a huge advantage. But 16OT did take the Desert Ultra from JST, but with the amount how close to their cities, I think JST will easily flip this.
Yeah.
So man, I think with this specific arc and this overall last 5 minutes was in the favor of JST.
Yeah, JST definitely, this is a huge tempo advantage for these guys. And this is absolutely huge for them because, as we were talking about, JST, to continue on in this tournament, to make sure that they make it to the main stage of the Grand Prix, they need to make sure that they win every game from here on out. It is an uphill battle for JST, but they have shown in this match that they have it in them. For JST to make it out of this group red line, they have to win this game, they have to win against EE next week, and on top of that, they have to hope that 16OT win against 2377 next week as well. So that's three things that JST have to make sure, or the three things that they're hoping for to make sure that they make it to the top of the group. Oh wait, on top of that, they have to win off point differential, because the tiebreaker would be based on point differential. So there's four things that JST have to hope for. But they are doing the right steps in this match right now to make sure that they can reach that tiebreaker point.
Correct, yeah, because they can only control three of those things, right? One, beating 60OT right now, and then two, preparing for the EE matchup next week. But then when it comes down to 77 and 16OT, if I had to choose, I think 77 may take that. So those pieces could fall, Plato, but it just comes down to the total points for these teams. And I think if that scenario were to happen, let's say JST wins here, they win next week, 77 wins against 16OT, they just have to make sure that their points that they scored is better than 16OT. So that's what it's going to come down to. They can do all three steps, but that fourth one doesn't happen, it doesn't matter.
Yeah, and that is going to be really, really interesting because 16OT are no slouches. These guys are one of the top teams, as we were talking about. I mean, all of the teams in the Grand Prix are pretty much to the top of the top teams. It'll be super interesting to see how JST respond. And 16OT, they're not out of this game yet. They're down by 1.7k. They have JST also have the arc, which is another 3.5. So it is looking pretty dire. They're down essentially by 5k ish.
About, yep. And 16OT is, I feel like GST is dictating the matchup now. You see, GST is fully offensive against all their structures. Everything's blinking on the side of red. So have they put 16OT on that situation where okay, we have to defend these structures, we have to take them back, we have to even it out, and GST is just doing pretty much whatever they want right now.
Yeah, man, it'll be interesting. 16OT, they're at least able to hold their Sky Altar, and that's exactly what 16OT they need to do. They need to make sure, step 1, hold your own structures. Step 2, try to take JST structures, but it's kind of tough when your structures are just getting rallied over and over and over again, and your defensive troops that are defending are just super, super low. So then if you try to rotate out from that defense into an attack, it's just going to be insta-sad-faced. But they have to somehow find the gaps within JST. They have to find the weaknesses here and try to claw their way back in terms of points. Because right now, JST have full control, but there will be a third arc worth 4k.
Agreed. And my question is, technically, they could turn it in now and get too big in a 4-arc game, but JST wouldn't do that, right? There's no point in that. They wouldn't, right? I'm wondering if that's something that they would want to do, based on that last mid fight.
I think JST are if I were them right now, you have the point lead. You have the arc, everything's stable. Like, why shake things up when everything has been pointing towards you this whole match? I think the variable here would be if they capture the arc early, because that's going to be all right. There's going to be another mid fight. Both sides don't have to the death. Perhaps it's going to be a time warp. I feel like for JST, they're pretty comfortable with where things are at, with them with the lead as well with the arc. So why would they need to shake things up?
Look at the JST Shrine of War. There's a lot of heavy presence going to that structure. Someone came from the top. I don't know where that person came from, but they did. So I'm like, I wonder what's going on here.
It looks like they rotated from middle into the Shrine of War, going all the way around. And by the way, we do see an XY with William. A very interesting pair. That just shows the power of cavalry in this game mode. The March speed just being so effective and being so crucial that you're using XY in 2025. But as we see, Shrine of War, it looks like it's going to be held. There are a lot of JST marches that they could swap in. Now, the thing about marches, though, is sometimes there's going to be, you see healthy marches next to a structure. It's like, okay, that march could just swap in. But if that player is the garrison, they can't swap in at all because they need to keep their garrison commander in there. But it looks like there are multiple healthy players around the Shrine of War. This will not be a successful attack by 16OT. And I like what JC's doing. They're like, all right, these marches, you can swarm down the Shrine of War. That doesn't matter to us because we're just going to keep filling it. You're going to be using up time, so we're not going to sad face your marches fast. You're going to have to use up time so that your marches will go back home slower. There'll be less pressure on the field. They're out here instead attacking the healthier marches, making sure that those marches can't go into the Shrine of War. Look at them. They're actually just ignoring. Now they're attacking the... Oh, they were attacking until it was super low. But they were purposefully, for a little bit there, just not even attacking the marches, attacking the Shrine of War, so that those marches would just, slowly sad face into the Shrine of War rather than, giving them a faster refresh. And it's those kinds of plays that we see in the Grand Prix and High Arc of Osiris where you ignore those little marches and the different micros and different marches you target that really make the difference between the good and the great teams.
Yes, I completely agree, and I've seen a lot of that happening throughout this match of like the elite microing of swapping out your marches, and I feel like this is one of the hardest things that a lot of players don't do is knowing when to stop attacking a march when it hits red. I don't see it a lot, but in this caliber of games, you see it so much. So it's in order to be at this level, you have to perform that way.
You have to perform that way indeed. You can see this Desert Altar. This is a 16OT attack. No, this is 16OT taking the Desert Altar. JST trying to retake the Desert Altar. So they're chipping away at the point slowly, but I guess Sky Altar was taken by JST, so they flipped altars. So they did the right thing taking the Desert Altar. They just forgot step one of holding their own structures. I think JST... Like, this is kind of a mirror of what we saw, just reversed. Where JST... Last week. Where JST kind of looked like they're overwhelmed all throughout the map, and 2377 we're taking advantage. This week, it looks like JST has had the tempo, has had kind of the ownership, the decision-making in this match, and it's just been 16OT trying to respond every step of the way. So it has been JST domination, and this is a complete 180 from what we've been seeing, what we saw last match when JST was against 2377.
I completely agree, and that was the one thing that we highlighted in the beginning, right? Like, what is JST going to do differently? Because in all categories of last week's match, they were being dominated. So it's really, really great to see them take advantage of all the little mistakes they did previously, and then dominating on this end.
Now, all the structures have been flipped. It is now an even state, which is going to be to the benefit of JST. They're up in terms of points right now. The point differential not changing much. It's only 1.6 now. It's a 1.6k lead, plus the 3.5 in the arc. And we're talking about JST, like what would you be doing? It is now 5 minutes until the arc will despawn, so it looks like they are just going to allow the arc to... Or they're just going to wait until the arc... last minute until they capture the arc here. And they are going to make it a 3-arc game.
If you look at the overall scoring right now in all categories, JST is winning in all of them. So there's definitely a 180s flip compared to what we saw last week. Right now in total kills, JST is leading that. Occupation score, they're leading that. And when they turn in this arc finally, they will lead that as well. So they're doing all the right things. But again, it's 18 minutes left. Anything can happen. You could see a 4K provision from 60OT. So if JST continues to do this right, this is their game to lose.
Yeah, JST, they are in the driver's seat. At 16OT, they have 17 minutes to turn this around. They are attacking the Desert Altar. That's step one. They've found success in the Desert Altar earlier. The rally, though, is getting pretty low. The Attila Subutai will be sad-faced here. And now, from there, it should be pretty easy cleanup from JST. So this should be a hold from JST on this. Is it a hold from JST? It is not. Wow, 16OT actually able to flip the structure. Now, that's going to be minus 300 points at least, because that is minus 2 minutes of occupation from JST. 150 times 2, 300. We see the Desert Altar retaken by JST, but that is a big flip from 16OT. And this time they were able to take back their Sky Altar. And that's exactly what 16OT will need to do. They just need to try to get these flips while holding their own structures and just chip away slowly but surely. 300 points here, 160 points there. And that is how they'll get back into this game. But JST, like, they, outside of that, they've just been super clean this game.
This is where it gets scary, Plotto. With 16 minutes left in the game, like you said, they're like 60OT, they're chipping away little by little. You know, a JST of course still has momentum, but with 16 minutes left, it's only an 1800 points game. Again, 3500 arc. They'll be in the lead about a little less than 5k on the side of GST, but every point that goes on the side of 16OT just makes this game so much more scarier. And did you see no mark just happened just now?
Yeah, no mark was used by 16OT. So 16OT, they're like, all right, we're not going. And in response, we saw that JST just submitting in that arc, saying, all right, you want to use no mark? Then we're just going to go middle. That's going to be the response from JST, is like, you're going to be minus 6 points here. Because that was a 16OT no mark. So they're going to start generating some points, 728 points per minute.
They're closing the gap, Plotto. It's gonna be close, because I think right now 16OT, based on the map, they probably have more points per minute.
Yep,
they do. So it's gonna close the gap again, not by a whole much, but if the next arc is 4k points, if they get this could come down to the wire.
This is going to be a huge hold. This is a Sky Altar. It is getting very low. There are JST swarms just coming in, but the marches are super low. There are a lot of healthy 16OT marches nearby. It's so low. It's a Joaquin Garrison in there. Put anything in there. It is now the Eleanor. Oh my goodness.
Oh, they should be able to.
That should be a hold, and that is absolutely huge from 16OT with their no mark. That just saved. That just saved an extra. How many points per minute are they gaining from that? 195 points. If that structure flipped, that'd be 195 points subtracted from them.
But of
hey,
course, the
and
Sky Altar was taken by JST.
That structure was so low.
That was impressive hold.
But may it be 2 million troops in there, may it be one troop in there. As long as you're able to hold that structure, that's huge. But the Desert Altar was taken, as you said, by JST in the meantime. So even the little victories that 16OT and this top side are able to gain, JST flipping this Desert Altar and now just nullifying that effectiveness of the no mark. With no mark, you have to make sure you have the structure advantage. You cannot lose your altars here. So this is going to be a huge win from JST. And as we were talking about, in terms of points, JST should have all of the pressure, all of the control of mid when it does spawn.
We'll see that in about 4 minutes, Plato. 13 minutes left in the match. Currently, JST's in the lead, 27k to 22k. This arc is a must for 60OT.
It is a must. It is a must. And the thing is, even if they capture this arc, they're going to be down by about 500 points. And we can see JST, they are provisioning up a storm over here. They have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 provisioners. And if we see our notes here, JST's average gathering points that they get is 6k. 6k. They average 6k in Season 9 compared to 16OT, where 16OT, they gather about 4.6k average. So that's going to be another 1.5k in terms of just the averages between these two teams in terms of gathering. So that you have to keep that in mind. You have to keep the arc in mind. You have to keep the structures in mind. There's just so many things that 16OT have to keep in mind to win this game.
Looks like JST's glazing in the eyes right now. I think they could pull this off, Plato. It's going to come down to this mid fight. Again, this is their game to lose, and I feel like they're doing everything right. And I'm really impressed with the total kills versus 60OT, where JST has a 5 mil advantage, meaning because we saw last week, it was completely different. It was a flip flop. I think 77 had like 75 million kills compared to like JST 63. I could be wrong there, but it was definitely a big advantage for 77. So again, there's definitely improvements made on JST side. Some type of conversation happened. Some revamp happened to their strategy, but it's looking really good here from what I'm seeing.
It is looking rather good indeed. As you see 16OT able to hold the Shrine of Life, able to hold all of their structures, and now it is going to be a middle rotate. I'm curious, the fact that 16OT are rotating middle when they're minus 6 points with that no mark. Meanwhile, there was no skill used by JST. We saw the skill discrepancy be that big victory, that big advantage for JST in that second mid fight. Now they're down 6 points essentially. I don't know how 16OT get this arc. What I would assume 16OT would have done is that they would have used, I don't know, a sneaky tactics to try to steal the arc, but there would have been a Desert Storm in response by JST. Maybe a Master Strategies steal or something like that. But it looks like they're going for the straight up mid fight. Everyone's starting to rotate middle here from both sides. And if it's going to be a straight up mid fight, I think JST, from what we've seen, and especially with the points that they have, should be advantage here, Redline.
But why is it scored so close? I swear it was like 4k. Now
It's because 16OT are going full in. They brought in their provisioners, Redline.
Let me see.
They're bringing everyone to this mid fight. So they're saying, okay, even though we're down in points, as long as we bring in all our provisioners, that's going to be minus 6 marches at least from JST. This is a very interesting play.
So 60OT technically, based on just the provisioners, they'll have more marches in the middle. And it looks like JST still has their provisioners, gathering those points.
Yeah.
Like that. But the thing is, like you mentioned, JST will have more skill uses in the middle. Am I wrong?
JST, they should have more points. Just because no mark was used by 16OT and there was no skill in response used by JST. JST hasn't used a skill since To the Death, except for Energetic, which gives them more skill points. So they should be close to, if not a full bar for this mid fight. Meanwhile, minus 6 points for 16OT. 16OT are down, so they have been generating more points than JST. But even so, 16OT should be down in terms of skill points.
And then as we're saying that too, I think the Sky Altar is now in favor of JST, so they're just milking these points.
Yeah.
From 60OT. So again, 9 minutes left. There's not. It's looking like JST. It's looking like in JST's favor right now at the moment, unless 60OT pulls something out of their bag here.
I don't know what 16OT could pull here. It's kind of like JST has been kind of omnipresent right now in this match, where they've just been all over the place, taking structures And this is, as we talked about, the win condition of 16OT isn't only this arc. They need to make sure that they also... JC use Time Warp. 16OT use Time Warp. It's going to be a to the death from both sides here. To the death by JST. To the death by 16OT. And JST on top of that have a Desert Storm. So, in favor of the no mark, 16OT, they use no mark. JST, because they didn't use no mark, they do have a Desert Storm advantage. Will that Desert Storm advantage be enough? Both sides are mirrored here for to the death. And it is looking pretty even. 16OT, though, they do have the positioning advantage. As long as they're able to go even with JST and their murder ball does not fall apart, they should have an advantage here. But oh my goodness, JST are bulldozing through the murder ball. 4 seconds until arc spawns here. Will the arc carrier, we see Witcher, the main arc carrier of JST, circling around this arc. Will they be able to get first pull, or will it be 16OT? Will it even matter with JST wiping the floor of 16OT's murder ball?
My God.
And it is JST Witcher yet again with a first pull. Second time this match.
Now all you have to score it and bring it home.
I think Witcher is open fielding with the arc carrier. They're just like walking back and forth. They're like, all right, well, let's just clean up the marches here, even with the arc carrier, and then we'll see what could happen. But wow, that was absolute domination, and that was where that was an all in from 16OT as well. Redline. That was everybody, including apparently their garrison for the Sky Altar, which is why it fell. And still, JST able to take advantage of their point advantage of assumingly their open field prowess and take this arc and potentially take the game.
Really impressed mid fight by GST, and just to make sure we're clear, that mid fight was mirrored identical for both sides. Just JST came out the dominant ones.
JST, they had an extra Desert Storm, so JST they did have an extra 3 points. As we're talking about, the no mark used by 16OT disallowed them from exactly mirroring JST skills. So both sides, to recap, both sides use Time Warp. Time Warp, it resets the cooldown of all your whole skill bar. So skills that you could originally only use once a match, such as To the Death, you can use a second time for free. So that's 6 points, and they both use To the Death. And on top of that, JC was able to use Desert Storm. So there was a point advantage to JST, but there was still a March advantage to 16OT. But it just looked like that didn't matter as JST. They have control over this arc. It looks like 16OT trying to dive in, but I don't think this will be the play for 16OT. I think 16OT, especially with a half health Belisarius Prime, again, cavalry marches, if they're half health, they have extra march speed. So this thing is absolutely flying. And it looks like this will be captured. And if this is captured, this should be the game for JST. Especially since they did not bring in the provisions yet.
I'm just so impressed with JST's performance this round. Congrats to JST. Sorry, I apologize. So 5 minutes left. Don't want to jump the gun there, but they've done everything right compared to last week. And now the next week is going to be a really, really interesting one for JST and for 16OT, because 16OT faced 77. So, you know that thing you mentioned, Plato, is that the tiebreaker will go to the one with the highest total score points. JST has to capitalize and really go off on EE if they win this matchup.
Yeah, JST has to absolutely
40K.
Yeah, that's going to be absolutely huge, but 16OT, they also have to win against 2377 for the triple tiebreaker, the 2-in-1 tiebreaker. If 2377 do win against EE after this match. Again, after this match, we're going to be looking at all of the scores so that we could have an update of each of the groups, see how everything's going. But man, Redline, like, after seeing JC's comeback here and after seeing 2377 last week, what do you think the breakdown will be? Will it be a 2-in-1 tiebreaker where all teams are 2-in-1 and then it'll be a tiebreaker based off of points? Or do you think 2377 should still be favored against 16OT next week?
So after this matchup, this is what I think is going to happen. Okay, so I think it's going to be So next week is EE and JST. I think JST will have that and will make them a 2-1. 16 OT and 77. I think 77 will take that one, so that'll make them. Well, they're fighting against EE, right? So if 77 beats EE, they'll become 2-0. So that'll mean 77 will be 3-0. It'll come down to 16 OT being 2-1, and it will be. Oh, actually. I don't know, Plot. I'm actually thinking about it. I'm getting confused myself because each person has one match each left.
Yeah, after this match.
After this.
Yeah.
So then it'll be technically JST will be 1-1, 60OT will be 1-1, JST will be 2-0. I don't know. I think the tiebreaker is gonna be I think 77 is gonna come out on top, and the tiebreaker will be between the two. And just make sure, top two or the top person comes out of this
only
bracket.
top team, only the first team.
So man,
in your scenario, it would be 2377 making it to the main stage of the Grand Prix.
Unless 60OT does something to take out 77 to make it a tiebreaker. Now, based on what I saw last week and then how JC performed this week, 77 is looking pretty good here, Plato. It's looking pretty good here. So both teams are just hoping that 60OT beat 77.
Yeah, pretty much. JST is going to be rooting for 16OT next week. 16OT is obviously going to be rooting for themselves. And again, chat, the reason why we're talking about this is because with JST seemingly getting the victory here, they're up by 7k. They still haven't brought in their provisioners yet, and they average 6k in provisioners per match. So we're looking for that 6k still. We can see that they have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 provisioners still out there. These are the original 6 that we've been looking at. Maybe even 7. We have to see, like, for this match, after it's over, both teams will be 1-1. And then 2377, if they win against EE, they'll be 2-0. So next week, that match up against 16OT and 2377, if 2377 wins, they're automatically being 3-0 undefeated, will make it into the group stage of the main Grand Prix. And JST and 16OT will be knocked out. But if 16OT are able to win, then it'll be a 2-1 record for and JST obviously are able to win against EE, which is not a sure bet because EE is a solid team as well. But if all of those things happen and there's a 2-1 record between the 3 teams, it'll be based off point differential. And that is why
You see,
JST are just still going hard even though they won the match. They need to make sure that they have as much points as possible, because all of this matters for a potential tiebreaker for them to make it into the next round.
if I'm JST, get as many points as you can here, and then hopefully 16OT beats 77, and then we can assess based on those total points who advances, and that will be something I would love to see, Plato.
Yeah, that would be really interesting. 16OT though, they were able to take back their Sky Altar. Desert Storm used on the Desert Altar by
And
16OT.
provisions are in for GST. Holy cannoli.
Yep. 5.7k from JST, and GG's to JST for the victory against 16OT. JST have taken the victory, as JST Hades is the most valuable player at 228,000 points. But JST taking an overwhelming victory by 13k. But even though it was a JST domination, it was still a pretty close match here. Redline, as I go back into the booth here, give us your thoughts on this match.
Looking at the score totals are now, congrats to JST. Did an amazing game. They did so much to kind of, correct the things that they were, struggling with against 77. So congrats to them. Well-deserved win. And and for 60OT, again, it came down to the wire up into that second arc, and then JST had that momentum. So 60OT, put all their effort in, and they have to just focus up for next week to hopefully stay in this game against 77.
Let's take a look at the scores in today's matches. As the match we watched, JC 16OT, JC were able to take the victory. They won by 13k, and now they're officially 1-1 in the group. 16OT with a loss, they are now 1-1. 2377 were able to win by a whopping, oh my goodness, how many points is that? Is that 35k points above EE? So they are now 2-0. And again, they won by 8k against JST last week. So even in a tiebreaker, 35k point differential is going to be astronomical.
That's a lot.
That's going to be very tough for any team to make it past, as Group A right now, 2377 being ahead in terms of point differential, being ahead in terms of record, are the favorites to make it out of Group A. Let's take a look at Group B. Group B, we have DQ versus TCOD. DQ 39 were able to take the victory, so they are now 2-0. And GPX, they were able to take the victory against 35-35, and now they're 1-1. TCOD are 1-1. DQ 39 2-0. They are the favorites to make it out of Group B. Next, let's take a look at 748W. 748W, they versed 93X, and 748W were able to take the victory. They are now 2-0. 93X are 1-1, and it looks like 1188 and 3563 were not able to play yet, so that's going to be a match in a later time. But right now, 748W with their 2-0 record are the favorites to make it out of Group C. And the match that Brian Koo and Cortex were casting, Beer and OWR, it looks like Beer were able to take the victory by about 13k. So OWR are 0-2, officially out of contention to make it into the main stage of Grand Prix. Beer at 2-0 are Beer at 2-0 and 75DC at 2-0 are both favorites to make it out of Group D, and their matchup next week will actually determine who makes it into the main stage. So Beer 75DC tied, 748W in the lead with 2-0. DQ 39 tied at in the lead for 2-0, and then 2377 in the lead for Group A at 2-0. Man, this is going to be a really, really interesting last week as these teams are continuing to try to make it through. Redline, do you have any final notes to the chat as we sign off for week 2 going into week 3?
Yeah, thank you again for the support, for coming and hanging out with me and Plato. We've seen some great matches, and we're going to continue to see great matches next week. So we hope you guys tune in and check us out. And again, I'm Redline. Make sure to check my channel out. Make sure to check out Plato's channel out. And we'll see you guys next week.
I will see you guys next week. See you, chat.